Siddhant, tell us something about yourself and Andromeda and where it all started.
Andromeda's journey is actually, I'll quickly go back 3 years back when I was doing my electronics engineering at RV College of Engineering, Bangalore. And it all started as a student technical club in my college. So, in my college, I, along with the other two founders, launched a technical team called as Team Hydra. And this Team Hydra actually made autonomous underwater vehicles for water purification and data analytics purpose. And the same was acknowledged by Indian Institute of Science and was also funded project under Ministry of MSME scheme. And the same thing later became an escalated version of the complete project, which was called as Andromeda. So a college team which was started by a few of the friends actually turned out into a company. So this is what it looks like, and the passion for underwater robotics is continuing. So this is what we are doing at Andromeda.
Siddhant, from college to scaling this up into such a huge project, this requires a lot of mentorship and guidance, right? So how was that important to your startup?
Yeah, actually, and very correctly pointed out by you. And being one of the first gen entrepreneurs, because I do not have any businessman or entrepreneurs in my family. My predecessors all have been into service or into government job, so it was very difficult. And at that point of time, luckily, we got in touch with the SNU. So what I have been feeling since 3 years now is. Two of the things are very important for a startup to actually receive some sort of nourishment at the inception is either you have a very good mentor or you have group of people who can motivate you on each and every step. And at SNU we found both. So it's very, very important for a startup at its inception to have some kind of a support.
I feel that along with mentorship for especially for deep tech startups, you require a lot of access to labs and prototyping facilities. So, was that a hurdle initially? How was that solved for you?
Yeah, when I take a deeper look in the Indian startup ecosystem, so most of the people and most of the accelerators down there understand SaaS, so they understand software as a service, they understand app-based startups, and that is what they term under the deep tech category. But you cannot actually show tech till it is put onto a hardware. So we both are communicating, but we have laptops and phones to do that. Technology of Zoom will not work if at all we do not have access to these hardwares. So the support system of hardware-oriented startups is still in the progressing stage, and many incubators do not understand the requirement and do not have the required infrastructure to actually support a hardware-oriented startup. And it's not only the labs, but it's the facilities which you require, right from 3D printing to metallic printing to whatnot, which you have to put in one machine, because it all a combination of electronics, mechanical, you name it, and you have it in a hardware system. So a lot of things go behind that, and a lot of infrastructure is there. And in order to do a startup, and that too when you are hard on money initially at the inception, it becomes difficult. So you require labs. It's a very, very important thing.
What was the biggest hurdle apart from prototyping and mentorship that you faced as a startup while scaling up to the level that you are in right now?
In the early stages, every entrepreneur feels that I'm directly going to sell to the government. So my idea is superb, and government will come to me and they'll be like, please give me your product and all those things. And even I was onto that line of thinking, but it doesn't happen. It is step by step that you progress, and that is what I found difficult. So having a background of Indian Institute of Science, having a tech background, I understood that the product that we have made is absolutely the coolest in Asia, and nobody would have done it and all those things. But then we understood that commercial side of things is very important for a startup to create a brand image, because it's not always your tech, or it's not always the vigor for your tech which is going to drive you through government and get noticed, but it's the kind of brand image that you create for yourself. And for creating a brand image as a new startup, you need a bigger brand to support you, and that is what I felt is much needed. So a bigger brand to support you, and getting out of the illusion that government is gonna come after me and buy the product. Those two things were difficult for me to find out or figure out.
So, I mean, speaking of brands, Shiv Nadar himself, like the founder of HCL, is in itself such a big brand image, right? So, did that help you sort of navigate through these problems?
Definitely, and that is where I wanted to come to. So I was waiting for you to ask that question. When you talk to people and you say that you are under guidance or you are under incubation of Shiv Nadar sir himself, HCL, or you may name SNU, Shiv Nadar's University, they create a different image about you altogether. Because if you have been filtered and then supported by somebody like Shiv Nadar, they get a feel that these guys have already reached the level, or they have already gained a particular stature, which is enough for them to, talk to us. So this usually happens when we are pitching to VCs or when we are pitching to angel investors. When we say that we are backed by HCL, they get a different awe of our presence, that so already supported by HCL, so they might be really good. So it helps, it gives you an upper edge. So that is what I can say.
Definitely. I mean, and the process of making sure that you are the best and then you're mentored to be the greatest is also such a big thing, right? To have, and that support to have, right? So I mean, taking the macro perspective now, like let's talk about pan India. What do you think is the future of deep tech in India, and what are the things that you look forward to in this space?
So while I talk of deep tech, there is what I have understood, that when people talk of deep tech, they only know two terms. One is AI, one is ML. And there is something which goes behind ML and AI, because you need a lot of data. So if at all a startup is not having access to data, and then you say that you are an AI ML startup, it doesn't really make sense. And that is up to an incubator to make a startup understand that when you say that you would like to create something into deep tech sector, they should lay those stones where the startup is actually getting that data, that mentorship, and all those things which are in their domain. So basically, this is an illusion for some of the startups who say that they are a deep tech startup, and some of the incubators who say that they are a deep tech incubator, but they themselves do not understand deep tech. So one of the examples, so I was pitching to one of the VCs who is supposed to be investing in deep tech startups, and they asked me, what kind of a deep tech are you using in your submarines? And while I started explaining them the trivial process of how we use deep tech, they were a little skeptical of being able to grasp what I'm trying to explain, because the kind of past they had in investing into startups, that was just some primitive machines who tend to be deep tech or tend to be calling themselves a deep tech but are really not. So two of the things, because when you talk about an organization like HCL, who has got robotic center of excellence, who has got deep tech experts who are the best in the world, you can say that I have been trained under this infrastructure, and then I can tell you about, like, it's not always going back to my college days. So this is what I find it's a problem, that deep tech startup is good, but understand the difference between app, understand the difference between software, and understand the difference between hardware. There are a lot of things to explore under deep tech.
Yeah, that completely makes sense. I think the lack of understanding and education in this space is, sort of causing this problem. How do you think accelerators can make this problem better? Like how can we provide solutions to such problems?
One of the things is that startups need to be straightforward, taken bottom line. So in case there is a startup which is coming to you and which is saying that, I have got a technology which can be put into your car, which will make it fly and then go inside water and then go into space. So you shouldn't always be like, oh wow, that's a great idea, we are applauding you. Wow, you are an entrepreneur, you are a crazy beast, you're going to make the history. Lot of appraisal which is not really required shouldn't be done at the inception. Our startup should be shown the real face of the futuristic technology which this guy is trying to perform at the very beginning. Because losing at the first step is still okay, but losing at the 99th step is not so good. So accelerators need to first provide domain expertise to this startup if they do not have that, because it's understandable. Somebody who's running an accelerator may be a business guy. If at all I am having a robotic idea, he or she might not be able to understand. They can only understand market, but they cannot understand product development. So one is connect me with the person who understands my domain, and then give me a exact idea that you are going wrong here. You need to either change your business plan, or you need to either change your product, or you need to either change your implementation strategy. So very, very fair insight should be given to startups. And that's why people keep shouting that 99 startups and 90% startups keep on failing and all. That is the reason, because they do not get a clear picture from their incubators and accelerators at the very inception. It's very important.